What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about a new trigger I got for my AR, and it's totally different than any trigger I have in any of my other ARs. So let's jump into it. So I have a plethora of ARs, I have a bunch of different triggers in them. One thing I like to do is try different brands and try different things and see what kind of triggers I like. Obviously the higher end triggers feel better, shoot better, and I think triggers make a world of difference in a gun. If you guys didn't know, I have a website that I have some affiliate links on, and I linked all the parts and stuff that I talk about in my videos. I was looking through one of the affiliate lists and I came across this trigger company that I hadn't really heard of. So I started doing some research, looked into them a little bit, and I was intrigued by the trigger that they offer. So I reached out to them, asked about the trigger. They were kind enough to send one out, so that's the trigger we're going to look at. But this trigger is from American Trigger Company, and it is the ATC AR Gold trigger. Like I mentioned, I had never heard of these until I started researching them. But this trigger is a little bit different than other AR triggers. They put a lot of time and engineering into coming up with kind of a new style trigger for your AR. This isn't like every other AR trigger where they change the spring so it's a little lighter, put it in an enclosed housing, and slap their logo on it and call it good. They did some engineering in this thing, and we're gonna go over a few of those points. I'm gonna pull this thing out of the box and show you guys. This is the AR Gold trigger. It comes all enclosed in a drop-in housing. You can either get a flat or curved shoe. They designed this thing to have a perfect trigger break. It has a second sear in there that blocks the hammer in case you drop your gun or something like that, it doesn't misfire. They've designed it to have what they claim is the perfect crisp trigger break, and they've got guns where they've shot over 100,000 rounds with these triggers, so this thing is going to outlast the barrel on your gun. I don't think I've done a video on this gun, but this is an AR pistol that I built a while ago. It was a Aero Precision monthly builder set, and I built this thing out. I think it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, it looks pretty sweet.
So I'm going to be putting that AR Gold trigger in this gun. When I get that swapped out, we'll do some trigger pull tests. When we get over the bench, I'll go over some other features with the AR Gold trigger that I didn't mention yet, and we'll see how this thing turns out. Like I said, I haven't put it in yet, I haven't shot it, I haven't done any of that. This is just kind of my first impressions and giving you guys the information about this trigger. Like with all my videos, like I mentioned, I'll have a link in the description that'll take you to our website, and you can go check out everything that I use in the build of this gun. You can go check out this trigger, and I also have a bunch of other pages for tools I use in my gun room or reloading stuff or whatever. You know, some of my favorite red dots, things like that. So make sure you guys click that link and go over there and check that stuff out. But let's jump over to the bench. We'll take a little closer look at this trigger, and then I'll get it installed in this gun. So this is how it comes packaged. It comes in pretty nice packaging. We're gonna unbox this thing. It comes with a few stickers, a little information card, and a card for a shot timer. But this is how this thing comes. Fit and finish, it looks pretty sweet. You can see that kind of extra sear right there up at the top that kind of blocks that hammer. Internally it looks totally different. I'm not sure if you guys can see that down in there, but it looks different down in there. I'm not going to pull this whole thing apart and show you all the internals, but you can tell it's built different. It is a patented design. You don't have to have any special safeties or anything like that. It comes with some new trigger pins in the box. And that's that. So like I mentioned, I'm going to be putting it in my AR pistol. This one's chambered in 223-556. Has a 223 Wild barrel in it. I think it's a really good looking gun, and I think it'll look even better with a little splash of gold to go along with the anodized red and that Cerakote that's been lasered. So a few other things about this trigger. So they make these in two different styles. They have a fixed trigger and an adjustable trigger. They make them both for the AR-15 and the AR-10. I went with the adjustable option. You can see that there's a little adjustment screw right on the back for adjusting the trigger weight, but it comes preset at 3.5 pounds. The fixed one comes right at 3.5 pounds also. It has a short reset, which we'll see here in a minute. It's 100% made in the USA, and they come in either a flat or a curved trigger bow. So I'm gonna get this thing pulled apart, gonna install this. Now YouTube won't let me show you guys that. They're sticklers on step-by-step instructions on installing stuff like this. And then when I get it installed, we'll do a trigger pull test and see how this thing feels.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, so that's how that turned out. I think that looks awesome. That trigger shoe is very unique looking, and I really like it. I think that gold shoe coming through just adds kind of a nice touch to this gun. Very minimal movement. Nice crisp break. Extremely short reset. Nice crisp break. I'm going to grab my trigger pull gauge and we'll do a trigger pull test on this just to see where it's pulling at and see if their claims at 3.5 pounds are accurate. I have this little digital Lyman trigger pull gauge. We'll see what this thing is pulling at. £2, 9.4 ounces. We'll do a 3 pull average. £2, 4.3 ounces. £2, 8.6. So an average of £2, 7.4 ounces. Like I mentioned, this trigger that I got is adjustable, so I can adjust it up and down to however I want it. But that thing's pulling pretty light right now, and it feels really nice. Very little movement. That trigger shoe actually feels pretty good on the finger. Nice crisp break. Short reset. Nice crisp break. So let's jump back up off the bench, take a little closer look at this. So that trigger installed just like any other AR trigger. I think it looks pretty sweet in there, that little touch of gold. And I'm really excited to get this thing to the range. Let's take a little closer look at the trigger pull on this. I'll kind of get up close so you guys can see. There's very minimal take up, hits the wall. Nice crisp break. And then the reset. Very small reset. Nice crisp break. Initial impressions on the reset. I wish that reset was just a little bit more forceful, a little bit more audible. Personally, I like to be able to feel that in my finger. And this one kind of feels a little bit light to me. And typically when I'm out shooting, if it feels light here in my gun room, it's hard to tell when it resets out on the range. But I will get this thing to the range and test that out to make sure. But that trigger pull, it's amazing right now. Like I mentioned, I will get this to the range, try it out. I may be adjusting this up or down, you know, find that sweet spot where I like it. But first impressions, I really like the way that feels. Now, like I mentioned, I will have a link in the description that'll take you to our website. You can go check out all the parts and pieces that I've used on this gun. You can go find a link for this trigger. And I also have links for all the tools and stuff if you saw some tools that I was using putting this thing in or whatever. I have a bunch of tools, red dots, stuff like that I personally like and use. You guys can go over there and check those out. But if you guys are looking for a high-end trigger, make sure you go check out American Trigger and check out this AR Gold trigger. Once I get this thing to the range, I'll make sure I do a video on that and update you on what I find and how I like this thing. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and I'll check you guys on the next one.